The Mr. Olympia competition is no stranger to dynasties. Only 14 different men have actually won the title since the first Mr. O show back in 1965, and because of extended runs by the likes of Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, plenty of accomplished bodybuilders were left as the bridesmaid, never the bride. Let's have a look at the top 9. Number 9, Kevin Levrone. Levrone wasted no time making his mark in the pro ranks after winning the NPC Nationals in 1991. In his rookie season of 1992, he would score 2 pro wins and place second at the Mr. Olympia to new champion Dorian Yates. The Baltimore, Maryland native took second place 3 more times in his illustrious career, 1995, 2000, and 2002. Between 1992 to 2003, Levrone never placed lower than 6th at the Olympia. In 2016, he came out of retirement at the age of 51 for one last Olympia. He finished tied for 16th. Number 8, Kenneth Flex Wheeler. When you talk about the best bodybuilders to never win an Olympia, 9 out of 10 people are going to think of Flex Wheeler. In 1993, Wheeler dominated his rookie season. He won 4 contests, including the Arnold Classic, and placed second at the Olympia to Yates. Many journalists felt that it wasn't a matter of if, but when Wheeler would seize the crown. That coronation was expected to be the 1998 Olympia, the first year since Yates' retirement. In a shock heard around the bodybuilding world, Wheeler placed second to a lesser-known bodybuilder named Ronnie Coleman, who had finished 9th place the previous year. He came out of retirement to compete one more time, but in the Classic Physique Olympia in 2017. He placed 15th. In October of 2019, Wheeler suffered circulatory vascular issues that resulted in the amputation of the lower half of his right leg. Despite this, Wheeler documented his rehab and recovery on social media. At the 2020 Mr. Olympia, Wheeler received the inaugural Olympia Inspiration and Courage Award. Number 7, Greene. After Phil Heath dethroned Jay Cutler in 2011, many fans expected the title of Mr. Olympia to flip-flop between the new champion and rival Greene. Greene won the Arnold Classic in 2009 and 2010 and placed 3rd in the 2011 Olympia behind the Heath and Cutler. Greene took his best shots at the gift in 2012 through 2014, but finished as the runner-up each time. It got tense. At the 2014 Olympia, Greene and Heath kept posing into each other's space. At one point, it seemed as though they were going to throw blows. That would be Greene's last Olympia appearance as a competitor up to this point. Greene won his 3rd Arnold Classic in 2016 and 2 other contests, but hasn't competed since that year. Even now that he is in his late 40s, fans wait with bated breath to see if Mr. Getting It Done will come back for one last run at the Sandow. Number 6, Rich Gaspari. Rich Gaspari was one of Haney's training partners in the early 1980s. After turning pro, they became respectful rivals at the Olympia. Gaspari and Haney went head-to-head every year from 1985 until Haney's retirement in 1991. Haney won all of those competitions, but Gaspari made the contests close by placing second for 3 straight years from 1986 to 88. The smaller Gaspari was no match for Haney's combination of mass and conditioning, so the New Jerseyan leaned into the latter. Gaspari came into competition so lean that he sported striated glutes, which is when one's body fat is so low you can see the ripples of the muscle fibers under the skin. Though striations are commonplace in competition, Gaspari is thought to be one of the first athletes ever to achieve this level of shredded. The Dragon Slayer's most significant win was at the inaugural 1989 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. He also racked up 6 European Grand Prix wins, forging a rivalry with Labrada in the process, as well as a pair of wins in 1986, the Los Angeles Pro Championship and the World Pro Championships. Number 5, Lee Labrada. Regarded as one of the prolific posers, Lee Labrada is one of the lightest men to compete on the Mr. Olympia stage. He never weighed more than 185 pounds on stage, but he beat competitors nearly 50 pounds heavier than him. The only person standing in Labrada's way was 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney, the winningest Mr. Olympia of all time, tied with Ronnie Coleman. For context, Haney weighed around 250 pounds in contest shape. Labrada graced the Olympia stage 7 times from 1987 and 1993. He never placed lower than 4th in any of those competitions, taking second twice in 1989 and 1990. Of the 22 pro shows he competed in during that same period, Labrada placed outside of the top 3 just 3 times. Nowadays, he hopes to see his son Hunter Labrada win the championship that he couldn't. Number 4, Lou Ferrigno. Before he was a TV and film legend, and even before he took part in the inaugural World's Strongest Man, Ferrigno was considered by many in bodybuilding to be the man to take the place of Arnold Schwarzenegger. The 6'5" New Yorker had been collecting amateur titles such as Mr. America 1973 and the Mr. Universe 73-74 2 times over before moving up to challenge Schwarzenegger at the 1974 Mr. Olympia. Schwarzenegger had never faced someone larger than him. While Ferrigno was certainly massive, he didn't have the complete package and charisma that the champion did in 74 and 75. Ferrigno placed second and third in those contests respectively. The 1975 Olympia was highlighted in the film Pumping Iron. He would make a comeback in 1992 and 93, but he placed in 10th and 12th. In 94, Ferrigno earned second at the Olympia in the Masters division. Still, between his star role in Pumping Iron, his stint as Incredible Hulk on TV, and his sheer size, Ferrigno remains a cultural icon in the bodybuilding world. Number 3. Victor Martinez. Martinez was one of the most popular competitors in the 2000s. He went 5 for 5 as an amateur, winning a light heavyweight title, 2 heavyweight titles, and 3 overall spots. He then had a moderately successful pro career, but it wasn't until 2007 that Martinez solidified himself as a true contender. Coming off a third-place finish at the 2006 Olympia, Martinez had won the Arnold Classic and was considered a threat to the then-defending champion Jay Cutler. He showed up to the Las Vegas, Nevada at his all-time best and faced the champion pose for pose. Ultimately, Cutler took the title in what is considered one of the most controversial decisions in the history of the Olympia. Martinez placed in the top 10 of the Olympia 9 times in his career, but his 2007 effort was his best. Martinez's other notable wins include the Night of Champions in 2003, the Show of Strength Championships in 2004, the Arnold Classic Europe in 2011, and the Toronto Pro Championships in 2014. Number 2. Branch Warren. Warren is considered a mid-tier competitor throughout the early years of his career. Before his breakout year in 2009, Warren logged 3 pro wins out of 13 shows he entered. One of the more impressive wins was his victory at the 2007 New York Pro. All of that changed 2 years later when the Texas native showed up at the 2009 O looking like a different competitor. Defending champion Dexter Jackson had counted on facing a determined Cutler, but Warren came out of nowhere that season. Warren even beat Jackson that night, placing second to Cutler, who took his 3rd title that year. While Warren never placed second again, he also wasn't overlooked anymore. He would win 2 Arnold Classic titles, 2011 and 2012, and remain a mainstay at the top of the Olympia lineup for the rest of his career, placing in the top 10 5 more times before retiring in 2017. Number 1. Shawn Ray. Shawn Ray made his Olympia debut in 1988, the same year he earned his pro card and placed 13th. After taking 1989 off, he graced the Olympia stage from 1990 to 2001 and never placed lower than 5th. His career spanned the eras of Haney, Yates, and Coleman. The closest he ever came to winning the title was in 1994 and 1996, when he placed second to Yates. Many fans felt he should have won the show in 1996. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.